Hello and welcome to this PeopleTrust tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll focus on the activity functions, how to plan and register an activity, for example, an interview. We always start on this page called Consultant Overview. You can see here the most important information and lists that help you to plan, organize and succeed with your day-to-day work goals. For example, the system has a list that makes sure that you plan for those candidates that need to be called in for an interview within the next 2 weeks, and where nothing has been planned yet. We call this the red contact list. Here you can see the list, and we can see that we need to call in 2 candidates for an interview soon. If you click on the list, you will go to a new page. The list works like this. We know how often each candidate needs to be contacted and called in. We also know when the last interview was being held for each candidate. On that basis, we can calculate the deadline for the next interview. We also know that if you've planned a new interview, and if not, we warn you when it's time to plan for this interview by displaying the candidate on the red contact list 2 weeks before the deadline. As soon as you plan an interview, we remove the candidate from the contact list, as this interview has now been scheduled in good time. For example, I'll start with John, and I'll do it via John's calendar so you can see how it functions. Start by clicking on John's name. That's a link that we call the candidate resume. This opens in a pop-up. The candidate resume displays the most important information about John, but not all. When we want to work with the candidate in general, we also access the candidate via the candidate resume. In this resume, you can click on the calendar link, then you'll be taken to John's calendar. John's calendar displays all the activities that you've planned or registered for him. That covers interviews, on-the-job training, courses, holidays, etc. You can always compare the candidate's calendar with your own or one of your colleagues. In this example, I can see John's calendar on the left and my own calendar on the right. In my own calendar, I will see all of my activities. That could be interviews with other candidates, company meetings, internal meetings with colleagues or holidays, etc. Basically, this calendar works the same way as any other professional calendar system, but with one huge benefit, that each candidate and company has their own calendar. Please note how John's deadline, that is the last date before completing the interview, is displayed in the lower right-hand corner. I can navigate from day to day using the multi-calendar at the top of this view. So if I want to see if I'm available next week, then I can click on that day. For example, Monday next week. You can see how the date changes, and you can also see that I'm busy in the morning, but available for appointments in the afternoon. I want to plan the interview at 2 o'clock. Therefore, I can click in John's calendar around this time. The system now opens the Create Activity function in a pop-up. I start by choosing the first interview activity and then resource. If I forget any of these steps, the system will tell me. Please note that I have set the system up so that it suggests that I should call John in by letter. I could also set the system up in such a way that it suggested calling in the candidate via email or a combination of letter and email. In this case, it would have attached the letter to the email. To continue, I click on the Add button and then Continue. The system will now take me to the next step, that is to confirm the letter. The letter contains all the necessary information, but I can add comments to the letter if I want to. Normally, I would just click Print at this point. If I do this, the letter opens in a new window. I need to print this myself and send it to the candidate. You can see how it's taken all the important information regarding this activity and merged it into the letter. At the same time, the system has closed the pop-up, and I can see how the activity is displayed in John's calendar as well as my own. The activity is also displayed in John's log, so if I click on the menu Log, I can see this. As I said before, I can see the activity in the log. Here, I would also see all the other activities planned or completed for John. As you can see in the list view, I can see that John has been called in by letter. If I want to see this letter or other communication for John, I can click on the Communication menu. So I can see that I have sent the letter to John. I can reopen the letter by clicking on the PDF icon. I can also send a new letter, email, or a text message to John from this page. So by following this process, I can plan the interview via the calendar function, and in the same process, I can call in the candidate by either letter, email, or text message. Once this process has been completed, the system itself documents this in the candidate log and saves a copy of the letter in the Candidate Communication Archive. Finally, you can see how John's deadline in the lower right-hand corner has turned green. That's because the interview has been planned correctly before the deadline. I can now return to my red contact list by clicking on the Consultant module and thereafter on the red contact list. I'm now back at the list and John has been removed automatically and everything has been planned for this candidate. We still need to make an appointment for Erica though. I'll do this so that you can see how quickly it can be done once you have the routine. In all, this process takes around 30 seconds. That's how effectively PeopleTrust handles one of the most common work situations. The system handles almost all work situations with the same efficiency, so using the system simply makes good business sense. If you'd like further information, please visit our website. Here you'll find other online tutorials as well as our contact information. Thanks very much for watching this tutorial.